go ahead and mute everybody and we'll get that blanket set up. We don't need it just yet, but I want you to have it ready. Okay. So we're going to be on our backs in a moment, but I want you to have this off to the side. So when you take your blanket, you fold it over 1/3 and then back again. So it makes the trifold. So it's like looks about this size. So have that ready and just off to the side. And then go ahead and come down on your backs when you're ready. Oh, Laura is there. Hello. I didn't have my screen set right, so I didn't see you were there. Thank you for joining us. Just want to mark you off, and then we'll get started. So go ahead, take a couple moments just to settle into your breath. This is our spring equinox practice, even though it's not officially here till later in the week, or Sunday is official arrival. But I usually start my theme on Tuesday these days. So we'll welcome spring a little early because it feels like it out there, right? So as you take some time to settle into your breath, we can think about the energy of spring. So in Chinese medicine, every season is dominated by one of the 5 elements. And spring is dominated by the element of wood. And each of these elements has qualities. So in winter time, the element is water. And water creates the nourishing environment for something to grow. Right? So it's like, you know, an embryo or a seed being watered. We can think of all those things. So we store up our vitality and our energy so that we have what we need to prepare for the season of growth. And we all feel it as soon as the energy shifts, the sun gets a little brighter, a little warmer, the days are longer now. We start to feel like we're recharged a bit, and we maybe feel like we can accomplish more. We feel a little more motivated. So I know myself, I feel like I go in hibernation mode when it's winter, and I think it's important to honor that and not kind of push ourselves as if we're always in the wood element season, right? So if we push ourselves like we're always in the wood element season, we're never going to have that opportunity to hibernate and to kind of store up our reserves again. It's replenishing to have that cycle of rest. But now we're entering the cycle of growth with the wood element. So it's a very kind of more active phase. It's more yang in nature. So winter is more yin in nature. So we might be feeling that energy. So we might think about, what are we going to do with this energy? What do we want to accomplish with this energy? And are there changes that we need to make in our lives? So this period of growth, it would be maybe a period of change as well. So we're going to do some balance work today, as the equinox is the time when in nature the energy is more balanced between light and dark, between yin and yang. So even though we're going more into that yang period, right now we have pretty much equal day and night time, hours. So we're going to work on our balance in our bodies as well as in our minds. So we're going to start with some core work, because I want to really address what are the things that are helpful for us to find balance when we do some standing work. So in a moment, we're going to take an inhale and a full exhale to just release into the ground. Let's do that 2 more rounds, a nice full bright inhale. And exhale, let it out. One more time, bringing that energy into the body through the inhale. And exhale, let it out. Now let's add a reach. So inhale, reach the arms and legs out into a full body stretch. And exhale, soften into the ground. Keep those arms overhead if it's comfortable. 2 more times. Inhale, reach, full body stretch. Imagine you're just inviting light and energy into your body. Exhale, let it go. And 1 more time. And this time as you exhale, let's bring those knees for a hug into the chest and just wiggle side to side a little bit so you feel like you're letting your low back kind of lengthen forward. Your tailbone's not tucking under. And give yourself a good hug, a good squeeze. And then we're going to set the feet down on the ground. And we're going to prepare for our core work. We're going to take hands behind the back of the head, interlace the hands, and cradle your head in your hands. Keep your elbows nice and wide. So we're going to take an inhale, and as you exhale, we're not even lifting up yet. We're just going to press our back body into the ground. So press your rib cage, your sacrum, your shoulder blades, and feel that activation through your core. And then relax and let everything soften, and you'll notice maybe your back moves away from the ground a bit. So let's try that a few times. Take an inhale, exhale, press your back body into the ground, and then release. Let's try that a few more cycles, and what I want you to observe is when you release, how far does your back lift away from the ground? So this is a good clue for us. The more it lifts away from the ground, the more we have an anterior pelvic tilt. And that is a big factor in our balance when our pelvic tilt is off. And we'll work on correcting that when we come up to stand. So one more time, press everything down, activate those core muscles. And now this time we're gonna add on. So just relax for a moment. We're going to take our next inhale, and as you exhale, press down into the back body. Now lift your head off the ground just about 1 inch or 2, and keep pressing your back body down. Keep elbows wide, and keep your chin out of your chest. So remember last week we lengthened our neck. Let's keep the neck long. And then release and come back down. So we'll do that a few times. Inhale, exhale, press your back body down. And then lift up just 1 inch or so. Hold for a beat. And release. Come back down. Okay, let's do that one more time. Inhale, exhale, press the back body, lift, and now hold it. You might release and keep working like that. Those of you want a little more challenge, we're going to take an inhale with the head lifted. Exhale, press your back body, and then lift up a little higher. Try not to strain your neck here. Keep your neck as relaxed as you can. Use that back body. And then release and come down. So this is called the double crunch. Those of you, I know a couple of you come to Sunday's class, we're going to make it a triple and a quadruple crunch. So we're going to go a little farther. So if you feel like trying a little bit more, you can. But otherwise today, let's just work with double crunch. 2 more cycles. Inhale, exhale, press the back body, lift up. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift a little higher. Now here you could stay and inhale, exhale even more, come up higher, or we're gonna release down. One more time. Take an inhale, exhale, press the back body, lift up. First part, take an inhale, exhale, lift up again, press down into the back body, and let it go. All right, go ahead, relax your arms down at your side, and stretch your legs out once again. Take a full body stretch. We're gonna interlace our palms and press them toward the wall behind you. Flex your feet, press your thigh bones down, and press your back ribs into the ground and get as tall as you can. Really press through your heels, spread your toes, engage your arm muscles, and relax. Okay, let's go ahead, bring those feet up and roll to your side. And we'll come on up into a seated posture. So feel free to sit up onto a prop if you like. And then let's find tops of the sit bones here. So a lot of times when we sit, our pelvis is either tucked under and then we kind of slump, or sometimes our pelvis is tipped a little forward and we have tightness in our back. So if you're in a true neutral position, you won't feel that tightness in your back as much. And what we're going to practice here is kind of aligning through these different platforms in the body. So my teacher talks about 3 sets of heels in the body. Right now we can only work on 2 because our heels, the first set is our heels of our feet, and we'll work on that when we stand. Second set of heels he calls the sit bones, okay? And then the third set of heels he calls the occipital ridge area that we worked on last week with our neck work. So we want to try and align those 3 platforms to help us balance. So find the tops of your sit bones, the second set of heels, and then see if you can align the back of your skull with those sit bones. So in other words, your head isn't tipping forward or back, and we're aligning the head right over the pelvis. And then draw your collarbones wide, shoulders back. And see if you can find the position of sitting up tall without so much gripping in your back. So it's really hard sometimes for us to sit up tall. Requires a lot of strength through our back muscles. And then, excuse me, now let's inhale, reach the arms up. Just like we did on our back, we're going to interlace our palms and press the palms up. And then hold here. Okay, press those sit bones into the ground without tipping your pelvis. And notice when you take your arms overhead, does your rib cage pop forward? You'll know because your back will feel a little tighter. So get the rib cage right over your pelvis so that you don't feel that arching in your back. And if that's hard for you, you might need to take your arms apart because sometimes when we're tight in our shoulders, our rib cage compensates by popping forward. So hold it here, reach up a little taller. Good, and then let's release and interlace the hands behind the back. Clasp the hands, open the collarbones, and lift up to the crown of the head. So another thing that can affect our balance is our shoulder positioning. If our shoulders tend to round forward, it will drag us down when we're trying to balance. It'll be heavier in the front body. So if we can get that opening in the front body and more strength in the spine there, that'll help us not feel like we're going to kind of droop and fall over when we're trying to do an upright balancing pose. Press the sit bones down, chin level with the floor, and then press up through the crown of your head. Should feel a natural engagement of your core without having to suck the belly in. One more breath. All right, go ahead, release. And we're gonna come into tabletop position. So just those were a couple, oh, you know what, not tabletop yet. We're gonna grab that trifold blanket. Forgot about that. We're gonna put that kind of mid to 2/3 down the way of our mat. And we're gonna lay onto it. And you're gonna put your thighs on the blanket roll. So we're doing a little myofascial release for the thighs here. You're gonna prop up like you're in Sphinx posture. And your thighs are just gonna kind of rest into that blanket. And then just do a little bit of rocking your hips from right to left. Because we're going to do a little quad opening in our balance today. So it might be nice to kind of loosen those quads up. So there are a ton of postures where we can open our quads. We do a lot more hamstring opening in yoga than quad stretching. So we're just massaging that out. Now pause in the center. And we're going to lift up the shins so the feet come up. If this is too intense, keep the feet down. So when you lift the feet, it puts more pressure into those thighs. Lift your chest now. And again, kind of rock side to side. You might even do like a little windshield wiper of your shins. And just feel how that blanket massages the quadriceps. So another way we find balance in yoga is opposing muscle groups. So opposing muscle groups here are our hamstrings and our quads. A lot of times our hamstrings are more open and our quads are tighter. So it's nice to bring more balance into the body this way. We're really tighten our quads. That can also affect our knees. Okay, we're gonna stay with this, but we're gonna move it so that the blanket comes down a little bit farther or up a little higher. So depending on how far you had it down, I was like mid-thigh. Now go down more towards your kneecaps if you were mid-thigh. And we'll do the same thing. Settle in here with the legs straight. And then we're going to do a little rocking side to side. You may even be able to feel into those muscles a bit. And then we'll come back to center and we're going to pick those feet up. Again, if it's too much, stay with the feet down. You might kind of press in your arms a little bit so that your belly doesn't quite droop. It actually lifts away from the floor a bit. So you're using a little upper body strength. And then rock a little side to side. All right, back to the center. Let's let those feet come down. And we're going to walk ourselves back. And let's just come into tabletop position. So you can open your blanket if you need a padding and put that underneath your knees. We'll come into our table. Spread out wide through your palms and let's do our cat-cow. So we take an inhale. Exhale, rounding the spine, drop your head. Pull your tailbone towards your head. And then inhale, arch the spine. Keep that going. Last round. And after this next exhale, come back to neutral. Let's take our child's pose, or you could also stay in tabletop position if you like. Come down, give a little stretch to that lower back. All right, come back up into tabletop position. And we're going to take our right leg out to the side. And just pause there. Press through your right palm. Find your tiger pause that we talked about a few weeks ago. So anytime we're weight bearing, we want to remember those things. So even though I don't talk about it all the time, even things that we learn, we can keep using them. Now we're going to take our left arm out to the side, come up on your fingertips. So we're kind of balancing here. And we're going to tone the abdomen. Kind of get that neutral neck that we worked on last week. Lift the back of your skull. And then the next stage will be to try to lift your left arm off the ground. Try to keep level through your core. One more breath. And then bring that hand down. And now see if you can lift your leg off the ground. So now your hands are both under your shoulders. Lift that leg. And when you lift that leg, it tones the outer hip, which is a really important balancing muscle. Bring that leg straight back behind you. And then bend your knee and squeeze your heel in any amount. Watch out for those hamstring cramps. And try to lift your thigh a little bit. And you're using that glute. You're stretching that quad. Good. Release. Let's take a break off the hands. Inhale, circle the arms up and overhead. And interlace your palms. Now try to align those heels again. So in this case, the knees could be a platform. And then the sit bones are drawing down. And the back of the skull lining up, making sure we're not popping that rib cage forward. So find nice neutral position for your whole body here. Okay, let's go ahead and release, and we'll try that work on the other side. Take your left leg out to the side, right arm out to the side, come up on your fingertips. We're going to keep that right hip firming in, so don't lean into the right hip. Tone your belly. Tiger pause with that supporting hand. And see if you can lift your right hand off the ground, any amount. Good, and then release, bring that hand under your shoulder, and we'll try to lift the leg off the ground. Swing it back behind you, and then bend the knee, and try to lift that quad up. Lift your leg off the ground as high as you can, engaging your glute. Good, and release. All right, this time back to child's pose. And just rest your arms for a moment. Let's take one more breath. We're going to do one more thing, weight bearing here. Come back up to your tabletop position. Okay, we're going to take the right leg back behind you, toes on the floor. And then slide your left shin out a little bit, making a little kickstand, and see if you can bring your right hand onto your right hip. So we're coming into a side plank position. Tiger pause with that bottom hand, push the floor away. That helps strengthen your wrist and your arm muscles. And then pull the tailbone a little in, tone your belly. You can stay right here, or we're going to see if we can lift that top leg off the ground, and that engages that outer hip. If you've got the leg off the ground, we're going to pulse it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it up. Bend your knee. You can stay right there, or some of you might be able to catch your foot. Keep pushing into the floor and draw your shoulder blades back towards each other, opening your chest. And then release that arm and leg out, and let's come back down. Very good. Okay, you might want a little child's pose or come up on your knees in between. Get those wrists a little rest if you like. And then let's do that on the other side. So I'm just going to turn around so I stay facing you guys. Okay, so left leg goes back, right shin swings out a bit, and let's start with hand on the hip. Tiger pause with that bottom hand, wake up the wrist muscles. Pull the tailbone in, tone your belly. And then from here, float that leg up, flex the foot, and we're gonna pulse it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold it up. And then bend the knee. You might stay right there or grab the foot. And then roll your chest open, squeeze those shoulder blades back. Good, and then release. And we're back down. Come back to all fours. This time, go ahead, lift up to your down dog and walk your feet to your hands, and we'll come into a standing forward fold. Hands to hips, root through your feet, and we're going to come all the way up to stand. Okay, and then we'll find our mountain pose. Now we'll be able to truly find all 3 sets of those heels. So root your heels into the ground, spread your toes. Important to spread our toes when we balance. If we're standing on one leg, if our toes are kind of all clenching, like we talked about a while ago, that gripping, the grasping, it's going to create more tension, and it'll be ultimately harder to balance than if we get a better foundation. Spread the toes, feel the heels, and see if you can let your sit bones drop down toward those heels. And then the back of the skull kind of lining up. Turn your palms open. So we find a really nice tall posture, a good mountain pose. And then inhale, reach your arms up. Interlace your palms. And we're gonna press those palms up toward the ceiling. And see if we can get that length without popping the rib cage forward. If we're doing this correctly and our tailbone and sit bones are drawing toward those heels, we'll feel a natural lift in our core without having to tighten the belly. Good. As you exhale, release, bend your knees, fold forward over your legs. Inhale to your halfway lift. Remember the neck positioning from last week. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. 2 more cycles, half sun salutation. Inhale, reach. Exhale, bend the knees, fold forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rising up. As you rise up, try to align those platforms, hands to your heart. One more time through, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Let's do one more round. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. I'm going to add on this next time. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up. This time as you rise up, interlace your hands, press your palms up, and then heels lift off the ground. Good. Hold it there. And then lower the heels, keep the arms overhead. Let's do a few more heel lifts. Lift up, try not to let your ankles kind of collapse outward. And release. One more time. Inhale, lift up. This time hold it if you can. Press into the balls of the feet and pull those sit bones down. One more breath. Good, release, arms down, heels down, take a breath. All right, from here, we're gonna come into chair pose. So we're gonna have the feet about hips distance apart. And we're gonna bend the knees and come into chair. Bring your hands just on your thighs to begin. We're gonna tone the belly, kind of pull the tailbone a little down, and keep the chest lifting, but don't lift your chin. You want to keep the back of the neck long. So you might need to be gazing a little more down toward the floor. And then lengthen the back of your skull. And we're going to start shifting our weight to the right foot. Get light on the left. You don't even have to pick it up. Just shift right to left. You might start to be able to come onto the ball of the foot. And notice how the outer hip muscles are starting to work to help you shift your weight from side to side. That kind of whole outer band of the leg, the IT bands are turning on. Good. One more on each side. Just want you to feel that. And then come back to your chair. And then we'll come up to stand. Okay, we're gonna progress this. Some of you are gonna wanna just stick with that, especially if you felt like that was already pretty hard. You didn't feel that stable. If you felt stable enough, we're gonna start to try to pick that foot off the ground, and we might even take the arms overhead as another option. So it'll be up to you how far you wanna take this. So let's come back to our chair. Spread out through our toes, get some weight back into the heels. Start to shift to your right, come onto the left ball of the foot. Maybe you pick the foot off the ground. And then lower, press through your heel, start to lift the other foot off the ground. So you might just keep the ball of the foot down. You might just practice shifting your weight. You might be able to get that knee up. Now, this is going well. Try it with your arms overhead. And just feel that work in the outer hips as you shift your weight from side to side. One more each side. And then we come back to our chair. Hands down, weight in the heels, press through your heels. And then we rise all the way up. Lots of work in those legs. Take a moment. We're going to do it one more time. Adding on another piece if that went well. You can always stick with what we just did. So the next phase, either the hands are going to stay down, you can have them on your hips or on your thighs. We're going to shift and see if we can stand up. So now we're straightening the standing leg, okay? And that could be with the arms up or the arms down. Arms down is going to be a little more compact center of gravity. So let's try. Come into our chair. Tone the belly, little length of the tail. Try not to kink your neck. Start to shift your weight. So just start out nice and easy. Don't go all the way up to stand yet. Your arms can stay down or they can come up. And now eventually, those of you who are feeling pretty steady, try to lift your knee. Come down to chair in between. And you're going to stand more into a straight leg. And do what you can. Each time you shift your weight, put it into the heel. One more each side. Yeah, those legs are working. And then after this, come back to chair, hands down, weight in your heels. And we're gonna come all the way up to stand. Good. Let's exhale, fold forward. That way feel good after all that work. Let's widen the feet. Hold on to opposite elbows, have a little dangle, a little sway. Take a couple breaths there. Switch the crossing of your arms. If you're in that forward fold still, you can always stay halfway up if this is too much to fold forward. And when you're ready, hands to hips, bend the knees, press into those heels, and we'll come all the way up to stand again into our mountain pose. Okay. Okay, let's take a little break from all that. We're going to come back to some more balance work. Grab your blocks, put them at the top of your mat. We're doing a little lunge work, so if you wanted padding for your knees, keep that blanket nearby. And we'll stand in our mountain pose. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, bring your hands onto your blocks. Put them right on your shoulders, and then we're going to step the right foot back into our lunge and drop that knee down to the ground. Okay, pat it if you need to. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the hands up onto that front thigh. Okay. So even here, we can align those platforms. So back knee, sit bones, back of skull. So see if we can get that in a straight line. Shoulders back. Keep that feeling of the sit bones drawing down. We call it the little tailbone hook. And then another thing that's helpful for balance here is to imagine you're squeezing an imaginary block between your inner thighs. And that'll give you more stability. Then if you're still stable, let's take those arms up, interlace the palms, and press the palms up. Okay, keep aligning those platforms. If you're doing it in a way that's kind of stabilizing, this outer hip is going to stabilize, just like we did in our chair. This is stabilizing, so the stripe here, the IT band, the outer hip, the glute medius are all helping us to stabilize. Okay, hands down to your blocks. Bring them under your shoulders, and we're going to lift that back knee off the ground. All right, so here, a little different. We're going to root into that front heel, and we're going to squeeze the imaginary block between our inner thighs. You might just stay here. Next phase is we're going to put a little bend in that back knee and try to bring our hands on our thighs. Okay, hug your imaginary block. You can stay there. You can always come back down, or we're going to try and come up and bring our hands on our hips. So a little bit more balance. Keep a little bend in that back knee because for most of us, we can't align these platforms if this leg is straight. It's going to cause us to dip into our lower back. So bend in the back knee. Here's why we open that quad, hook that tailbone forward, and here we can align our sit bones and back of skull. Those of you who are stable, arms up, interlace your palms and press up. And feel that back leg helping you stabilize. Hug the inner thighs, press into your front heel. Good, release your hands down, step forward, fold over your legs. Inhale, we reach up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Okay, I'm going to take a pause and we're going to do our other side. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold, hands to blocks. And then we'll step that left foot back. Move your blocks back in line with your front foot. Have that back knee if you need to, drop down. Okay. Back toes could be tucked or untucked, whichever helps you feel most stable. And then we'll bring hands up on that front thigh and pause there. Let's align, sit bones, back of skull, back knee. So we're not doing the lunge so much, we're more upright, okay? We're zippering up the front of the abdomen. Hugging those imaginary blocks between the inner thighs. And if we're stable, we'll take the arms up and interlace your palms, press up. Hold it there, one more breath. Good, release your hands down. Now we'll find the high lunge. Tuck your toes, lift that back knee. And again, you might stay here. We're doing that hug of the inner thighs in. And then if we want to come further, we're going to bend that back knee a little bit, try to bring hands on the thighs as the first step. Maybe notice one side may be a little more stable than the other. Keep that bend in the back knee and try to align your platforms. And if you like, we'll progress it to arms overhead, interlace your palms and press up. Try to find that tailbone hook and the thighs hugging in. Good, release, hands come down. And we step it forward and fold over the legs. Set your blocks to the side, bend the knees. Inhale, we'll rise all the way up. And exhale, draw your hands to your heart. Okay, find your mountain pose. We're going to do a couple more standing balance postures and we're going to come down and stretch it out a bit. So let's try tree pose. We're going to stand on that right leg and bring your left heel above your ankle. And then pause there, find those platforms. The heel of the bottom leg, the sit bones, back of skull. Can we get everything aligned? And then maybe palms to the heart. Press your palms together, press your heel and shin together. That's that hugging the midline gives us stability. Oftentimes this outer stripe of the standing leg is supporting and helping us engage. We don't want to let that hip pop to the side. Everything is level here. Okay, now you can progress your tree if you want. You could do arms overhead with your foot on the ground. You might interlace your palms and press the palms up. So that gives us a closer center of gravity with those palms together. Sometimes when we're here, it's a little too kind of ambiguous, right? If we're here, it might give us more stability. Sometimes we do it with palms pressing together as well. Some of you might be able to pick that foot off the ground if you're stable. If you do, align by drawing that sit bone down, making sure we're lining everything up in that back body. Chin is also level with the floor. One more breath. Good, release. Come down and shake it out. Okay, let's try that on the other side. So we're gonna stand now on the left leg, bring the right heel up, and get everything aligned. We hug to the midline, maybe hands to the heart. You can also keep hands on your hip. If hands are at your heart, they're pressing together and your heel and your shin are pressing together. Get that outer stripe of the leg to engage. Keep the shoulders back of the neck long. And then progress as you like. Maybe those arms come up and overhead. You might flip your palms. If that's too much, you could go wide, but do it with intention. So we get that wood element of reaching up and out. That's the energy of spring, like a plant reaching up and out. And those of you who feel stable enough, that foot might come off the ground. Steady gaze, steady breath. Last one. And release. And if you fall, you have to smile. That brings more balance into the practice. Okay, we're going to do one more standing pose. We're almost done with this standing work. What we're going to do now is the standing with the quad stretch. So if you have a wall that you can hold on to, that might be helpful, okay? If those of you who know you're pretty good with your balance, you can do it without going to the center of the room, feel free, okay? So that's why we did that myofascial release on the thigh and all that lunge work. We're going to stand on the right leg and just come onto the ball of the left foot. So we're shifting our weight onto that right heel and spreading the toes. Next stage, we're going to pick the foot up behind you, and that might be it. One hand could be on the wall. And those of you who can are going to grab the foot, but then let the knee drop. So don't want it out to the side so much. The knees are close together, okay? Either hand on hip at the wall, or you can reach it out to the side. The shoulder of the lifted foot, roll it back and lift your chest up and try to align your platform on the standing side. Actually, both sides, you can really get that alignment. That'll help you balance. One more breath. And release. Okay, very good. Shake it out. And let's try that on the other side. So we'll stand on the left leg. Make sure that hip is firming in. Come onto the ball of the foot. And then we're going to lift that foot behind you, stage one. Stage two, we're going to try and grab the foot, but then drop the knee. Either holding the wall or hand on hip. And then roll that shoulder back, lift the chest, and try to align your platforms. Nice, steady breath, steady gaze. Push that foot into the floor, which will help you lift up off the ground. Good, release. Shake it out. So that pushing the foot down gives you stability, just like the roots of a plant root into the ground to allow the plant itself to be healthier and grow taller. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Inhale to your halfway lift. Step back to down dog. And then let's take a child's pose. If you need more time in your dog, feel free. And then take about 2 or 3 more breaths there. And then we're going to give some nice stretching to those outer hips. Okay, so we're going to come onto our backs. You're going to want to maybe a pillow for your head. So you could use that blanket, one of your blankets. You can keep the other one nearby for under your knees for Shavasana. We're going to just do some releasing for the outer hips. And keep your blocks one on each side of you, okay? Let's just come down and first maybe give the knees a hug into the chest. Maybe some circles, some rocking. And then put the feet down on the ground. Take your arms out to a T. And we'll cross the right ankle over the left knee, coming into figure 4. So the inner thighs are not crossed, just ankle to knee. All right, from here, we're gonna windshield wiper the legs side to side. Go slowly. And as you do so, you might feel that starting to stretch the outer hip area, the IT band area. You can just go part way. You can go a little deeper into that twist if it feels good. Now the next time you twist over to the left, see if you can come all the way right foot rather to the floor. Now it might not make it. You could stick your block under your foot as an option. Okay, if that foot reaches the floor, let it come to the floor. All right, we're gonna pause there. And if it would feel good for you, press your right thigh away from you. And let the left leg get a little heavier into the ground. Then press your left rib cage a little bit more toward the ground. Hold it there, one more breath. Good, and now just kind of relax your legs into the twist. You might keep them crossed. If it's too much, some options are to stick a block underneath the lower leg, or to uncross your legs and just do kind of a stacked knee twist, okay? So either keep those legs intertwined and add support, or let the legs even come to the ground if that feels good. Pull your left shoulder blade a little more to the left so you're evening out your chest. If you'd like a little more, take your left hand on top of that right leg and just draw it toward the ground a bit more. But keep that right shoulder heavy, right rib cage heavy. If you'd like a little bit more, and your hand is on your thigh, press your right thigh up into the hand. And that engages a little bit, and then relax it again, and let that hand relax. One more breath. And then from here, we're going to take that top leg and bring it back foot to the floor. And then the other leg, and we'll come back to center, readjust, balance everything out. And then let's do that on the other side. Left ankle crosses over, figure 4. And then we're going to windshield wiper side to side. Now the next time the legs drop over to the right, we're going to let them stay over to the right. And again, if that foot doesn't reach the floor, you could put a block under it as an option. Or you can let it kind of hover just above the floor a little bit. And that might be it. If you want to go a little bit more, press the thigh away, that top thigh. Pull the right shoulder a bit to the right and keep the left rib cage heavier toward the ground. Okay, now just kind of relax that leg over into the twist. You might scoot a little bit more towards your right hip. And you can either keep the legs crossed or uncross them if you want. Those of you who are keeping the legs crossed might add a few more things on. We might take right hand on top of the left thigh. Gives a little weight. And then if we want to go a little more, we could press that thigh up into the hand. And then just let it go. And we'll take a couple more breaths there. All right. We're going to take that top leg, bring that foot back to the floor, and then right foot to the floor, even yourself out. And we're going to bring those knees into the chest. From here, cross your right shin on top of your left shin. So we're in kind of a reclined sukhasana, like if we're sitting on the ground, but now we're on our backs. And we're going to pull those knees into the chest. Keep the tailbone lengthening, shoulders dropping. And press your legs out into your hands for a moment. Kind of feel those muscles engage, and then relax. Take your legs straight up toward the ceiling. Circle your feet around. Go the other way. And point and flex a few times. Okay, cross your left shin in front. Come into that reclined sukhasana. Knees are wide. And then holding on to those outer legs. Hold the knees toward the chest. Keep the tailbone long. Press your legs out into your arms for a moment. And then relax. And hold it there. And then we'll take the legs up one more time, circle the ankles around. So use those ankles a lot for all that balancing work. Circle the other way. And then flex and point a few times. All right, bend the knees, grab behind the backs of your thighs, pull the knees into your chest for happy baby. If you can keep that spine neutral, you could hold your ankles or your feet. But if you're rounding your lower back, back out a bit. And you could either rock or stay still. Okay, hugging those knees back into the chest one more time. And you made it. Let's find Shavasana, guys. So adding any props that you like to be comfortable. Take your time, make any adjustments so you feel very stable, symmetrical in your body. And then while you're on your back here, you can easily feel how we can keep the back of the skull, the sit bones, and the heels all in alignment. But once we take ourselves out of gravity, all those parts shift, and we often find ourselves with imbalances. But a practice of realigning ourselves, getting that spine back into its natural curves, finding our neutral pelvis, our neutral neck, not only helps us balance, but it helps us find more stability of mind. When our pelvic tilt is off and our neck tilt is off, it can change how we feel not only physically, but mentally as well. That strong anterior tilt can cause us to feel a little more anxious because it causes our spinal muscles to contract inward right around our nervous system. And if our pelvis is tucked under and our spine is collapsing, it might cut off more of our circulation around our heart and our breath. And we might feel a little more lethargic, a little more depressed. So by aligning our spine, we help not only our physical state, but our emotional states as well. So I'm going to give you guys a couple more moments just to kind of settle in and relax your back muscles into the ground. All right, so we're going to start to come out of Shavasana first by noticing how you feel here at the end of your practice. When you feel ready to, there'll be a little bit of a deeper breath, small movements, evolving into bigger movements, taking your time, and eventually come over to your side for that pause. I'm going to come on up to sit as you are ready. Once you're seated, find that alignment of those platforms. Sit up tall. And just close your eyes for a couple more moments. And we're going to find a breath here. And I'd like you to see if you can make your inhales and your exhales very even. So there might be a count to your breath. Maybe 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Or 5 counts in, 5 counts out. Whatever works for you. You challenge yourself to maintain those platforms as you focus on your breath. Have a sense of your sit bones drawing down into the ground like the roots of the plant. And the spine and the crown of the head rising up like the body of the plant. The crown of the head opening like the flower or the branches. So I'll share one little poem as you guys continue to breathe. This is called Thawing the Freeze by Ariel Schwartz. Yesterday, the soft surface of the water, a sign of spring, invited us to welcome the potential of rebirth. But how quickly the ice forms again when a brisk cold front moves in. In a flash, these storms harden everything in sight, like the world caught again in the grip of fear. I too await the thaw. In the meantime, I listen for signs of life caught just under the frozen surface. The current of water moving, a wing of a bird against the cold air. My hand over my beating heart. Do not lose sight of the sun, the powerful force that can awaken you to love again. Let's bring our hands together in front of the heart space. Take a nice inhalation, and as you exhale, bow your head to your heart. And thank you so much, everyone. Namaste.